Hi everybody, I'm Lena Robinson and welcome to Lena Unedited, the first one for 2026. Before we get going on the topic, which is going to be about intentions, not resolutions, and why goal setting gives me the bloody ick, I would like you to subscribe. I would like you, if possible, to like once you're finished. That would be really helpful for the channel. So yeah, let's get going. So obviously over the holidays, festive period and so forth, we've all had a lot of time to think. And also a lot of people have been asking me, so what are your New Year's resolutions? And it's like, I had to think about it. It's like, what exactly about the word resolution triggers discomfort in me? Like, what gives me the ick? And what does it assume about how people should change? And I think what it is for me is that, it's quite linear thinking, for me anyway, with a squiggly brain. It brings a huge level of finality and rigidity and sort of that pass and fail mentality, which is something I'm really trying to avoid because I have to try and stay away personally from that feeling of I'm failing, I'm not very good, I have no issue with the public accountability of a resolution, but I have no issue with whatsoever. But there does seem to come with it a whole lot of new year, new you pressure. And one of the things I'm really trying really hard to do is take pressure off myself in all the wrong areas. I'm fine with a good deadline. I'm fine with things like that. But yeah, I had a long think about this sort of fear raised up in me. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about fear in a minute. But this fear raised up in me. And I was like, why is that it coming up? Why is that fear coming up? And I do think it's literally about that sort of pass-fail mentality, which is why, and I belong to a group which my dear friend Dave Brown runs, and it's great, and I love doing it on a weekly basis. I'm sort of we lay down our goals for the week, and then at the end of them, we're kind of like, what were our small wins for the week? It's called the Small Wins Society, the group of us that do it. At first, I really, really was against it, but actually it's been quite cool because it is just about intention, and it's also not about beating myself up on the things that I haven't done for the week, but more celebrating the things that I have done. So I wanted to take a similar mentality to, a fresh new year, which I have no issue with. I like planning, like what do I want to do for the year. So I started thinking about what I wanted to do for the year, and I just wanted to keep it really simple. It's to either get a contract or a job for the year that's going to bring me for the 2026, that's going to ensure that I'm earning the money that I need to, so that all of my side hustles like the gallery and what have you and Floralicious can continue with some money behind them, which is what I've always wanted to do without fear. So the two things that I wanted to focus on for this year was just really simply get myself a job, number one. And the second thing is I always set myself a word of the year. I think in previous years I've had words like momentum, then I've had words like action. This year, I'm taking it up a notch. And it's because I started thinking about fear, and I do deal with anxiety. So, what drives anxiety often is worries and fears. And I even had a previous business where our whole motto was bring on the brave. And the reason for bringing on the brave was that we realized that a lot of bad decisions in business got ran by people making decisions out of fear. So I'm well aware of that whole concept around fear. So word of the year for me is going to be around being courageous. So courage effectively is my word of the year. Talking more about fear, I had a question that I wanted to ask myself and sort of answer with you guys when I was planning what I was going to talk about today is, what is the fear that sits underneath my resistance in setting those big fixed goals? again, I think it is, with everything that's happened to me over the last few years, and trying to get myself back on track after being not so severely, both physically and mentally, because of illness and chronic illnesses, it is fear of failure, because there has been a huge element of, I was doing so well. I just sold my business. I had a really successful career. People knew who I was. And with everything that happened and finding myself having to go on benefits and stuff when the money ran out, that fear of failure is something that that does sit there for me, although I'm working really hard to not let it bring me down, because I think fear freezes us, and I have not got the time for freezing right now. And I think it is a little bit of a fear of being boxed. Like, my personality struggles when people try and fit me into a box. So there's a little bit of that and being sort of pigeonholed, when in actual fact, I'm probably a bit of a polymath. I don't know if I'm a true polymath, but I've got a lot of skills that kind of jump in lots of different directions. And I know people often struggle to put me in a box. I think there's a little bit of a fear of, if I put these big sort of goals and things and I fix them in place, then I'm going to be boxed in by those. So that's a bit of a fear that I've got. Whereas I quite like to be, I'm quite good at thinking on my feet, and I like to be flexible. And I think my resilience comes from my ability to pivot. Oh, I don't like that word pivot, but effectively go in a different direction if my brain and mind and my instincts tell me I need to do that. I do think there's a bit of a fear of disappointing people. I think over the last few years, I've had a lot of feeling like I've let people down. I've not been able to do things that sometimes I've said, I want to be able to do that for you, but often health and well-being has not allowed me to do that. And there has been a huge level of that feeling of disappointing other people. And I think by putting those massive goals out there, it feels like if I do that, then I might disappoint people. I don't think I will, but that's a silly thing that goes through my head. And there is a little bit of a fear of naming something out loud, which I think goes back to that sort of fear of failure. But at the same time, I'm really ambitious and I've got drive, and I know I need to go in certain directions with things. So I'm not afraid of setting my stall out far out into the future and driving myself to achieve things, because ambition has never been something that I've been afraid to do. But I do think that the thing that sat underneath, and I had an instinct that that's what it was this resistance to setting these big goals, and why it was giving me the ick was fear. But then it sort of made me think, when I was thinking about this, not boxing myself up, it's like, so how does my brain actually work when I'm at my best? And how different is that from traditional goal setting models? And I know when I set up my original business, not FTSQ, but the prior one to that, which I'd set up on my own initially, and it became Kiwi Grey, which is now Grey Matters. I'd done a drawing, which was, I always want to be like, I know where I'm going, but I wanted the goals to be, or the things that the path and trajectory to be able to veer off in different directions. So it was never linear. I actually drew a picture where it was kind of like almost joining the dots and being okay with it doing that. So I know, number one, when I'm at my best, it's about not being linear. I think it's also being okay with being almost seasonal in the way that I do things. Like, I know when I sit down and I write a business plan for myself, by the time I finish writing it, I'm almost, not in a negative way, ready to go off in a different direction, but I'm ready to react to the situation going around me and being okay with going off in a different direction than what I had planned a few months ago. So there is that. I am very intuitive, and I promised myself when I set up FTSQ that I would run my business from a purely intuitive perspective. Now, since that original thing that I set out to do, which is a completely run a business out of intuition and experience driving that intuition, my brain had an injury. It didn't work as well as it used to, and I've kind of lost a little bit of trust in it, because my intuition, I felt, was off because of a little bit of fear, a little bit of lacking confidence because of my brain not working. It is now back. So I'm now relearning to trust my intuitions again. I'm relearning to have confidence in my experiences that I've had, and to continue to read the world and the changes that happen in it, but trust myself to have enough knowledge and experience to trust where I need to go with whatever's happening in the world, whether it be the AI, whether it be going from being the founder of a business to going back into the job market or sort of contract market and what have you. I'm definitely very responsive, but at the same time, I recognize patterns, and I'm very pattern-led, which is what I think drives my intuition. I'm very relationship-led, and I'm very values-led. So because of all that, I don't necessarily think that the traditional goal-setting model works for me. But that's why I think the word intention works for me, and it's an emotional feeling of why intention works for me better than goal-setting. Intention kind of doesn't feel so stake in the groundy, even though I'm not afraid of the stake in the ground. I feel like sometimes by the time I put the stake in the ground, it's time to move somewhere else. And I want to move fast, and I want to work with intention and intuition. But I'm reading my notes. What does setting intentions give me that resolutions and rigid goals don't ever or never have? Whoops, I just knocked my camera. And I think intentions is about giving myself permission to not stay stuck just on a certain way of doing things. It provides me with a lot more flexibility, even if it's an emotional feeling of having more flexibility, because I know anything that feels too rigid for me always feels stressful and doesn't seem to work very well for me. It's about alignment with purpose. It's about alignment with bigger picture thinking than just goal setting. It allows my curiosity with new things to still be there, and it gives me a sense of direction without that, in my mind, brutal feeling of fear of failure and so on. And I think one of the things I'm working really hard to do is avoiding or reducing the pressure that I put on myself, because it's not pressure that other people put on me, it's pressure that I put on myself. And I'm well aware that sometimes I put too much pressure on myself. So maybe approaching this with intention rather than huge massive goal setting is a much better way emotionally and mentally for me to keep going in the right direction. So the question I then had last, which was if I trusted my way of thinking instead of trying to translate it into someone else's system, what does that then allow myself to do differently in 2026? I think it's about liberation for me. And I think this will resonate with quite deeply with a lot of the people that listen to me or around me. You know, it's the founders out there, it's the creatives, in particular the neurodivergent thinkers, could be some of those burned out high performers of you out there. It's been a hard couple of years. Anyone who feels like goal setting is a performance, not a tool, then I think, I think this episode is hopefully, a bit more liberating and around how you think about goals versus intentions, your way of setting how you want to drive forward to the future rather than a list of things that you can whack yourself over the head with when you maybe don't always achieve them. And I think sometimes we also give ourselves, when it's a list of goals, we give ourselves too many. But I think intention for me kind of works. So that's kind of my conversation today. As always, I've decided to, when I do the inside ones, they always go on much, much longer, so sorry about that. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I said what I needed to say, but it's quite funny that I don't seem to do it to the same length. It always seem a bit longer. And I've come inside because it was so bollocksy cold and it was windy as heck and you couldn't really hear when I did my teeth, and it was cold and raining, so I decided to come inside. And it's also getting dark really quickly tonight. Anyway, I think it's timely, this episode. It's post-holiday, New Year's here. it normalizes, hopefully, a bit of discomfort that we all feel about setting those intentions. Advise you not to overthink it, maybe. It definitely, that way of thinking that I've taken, the intention approach, is much easier, I think, for nonconformists, creative, squiggly brain people. I was in hustle culture for a really, really long time, so I'm trying to reframe good quality growth. And it kind of feels reflective for me in how I then want to go forward with intention and with courage. So yeah, that's it from me today. We've covered intentions, not resolutions, and pretty much why goal setting in the traditional sense gives me the ick. If anybody wants to talk about that with me, I'm around. My contact details are always in the comments and so forth. So yeah, welcome to 2026, everybody. I hope everybody has a fantastic year, and I know I'm looking forward to a really good year, living life with intention and living life with courage. Bring it on, 2026. See you later, everybody.